Okay, go. Okay.
All right, you're recording. Anyway, I got there at 5. I was helping Sean put some of the cones up and stuff like that and looking around. First thing is the grass was very, very wet. And I know I'm concerned about that because I don't want to screw it up and then have the town say, no, you messed our lawn up, so you can't do this next year. You know, that sort of thing. But the lawn was very wet. I mean, just walking across it, you know, it was up to your calves and stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe if they don't put the sprinklers on or something like that, that might keep some of that lawn from getting torn up and all. Cars started showing up, like I said, that one guy showed up just after 5, about 5:15. He was there. And then there was a large group that showed up about 6:15 or so. And they all wanted to be in parking section number 2. So they all hung out there and they were actually blocking some of the roadway and everything else, waiting for us to open up number 2, and they weren't going to move. They were
Okay,
just
and I'll tell you, that was Tusovich.
Okay. So I think if we're going to do the same parking as next year that we did this time, let's do the number 2 first, number 1 second, and then the stockade number 3. Because once we did that, once we opened up number 2, then everything kind of cleared up. And then also, I wasn't sure if the reason why we were heading in cars was because of the sidewalks or was it because of sprinklers? And I noticed, you know, there's 2 or 3 of us parking cars, so we can avoid sprinklers and all that if we backed them all in. Because people walk all around the cars anyway. They don't just stay on the sidewalk. But if we back them on in, then when they leave, they have a better view of the sprinklers and all that stuff. Because I saw a few cars backing over sprinklers when they were trying to back out to leave because there's nobody there to help them and stuff. And, you know, everybody leaves all at once. And even if we had a crew of parking people, we wouldn't be able to help everybody because they all leave at the same time.
I agree with you on that, Tim, because Don Grumpy, my judge and parking guy, he was trying to help people get out at the end. And it was very difficult for them to get out. So I totally agree with that.
Okay, let me add to that. Sean, what do you think about if we put that in writing? That anything that has a red flag, don't drive over it, just so they have that when you confirm them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, speaking on that specific topic, you know, we were talking about in the beginning, hey, we're going to be getting a lot of cars. We're just trying to get them parked quickly. And that's why we went with the head-on approach, which made sense. But you know, the only comment I got from the state park was they were super happy with it. No issues, but if there could be some support or a better methodology for people exiting at the end of the day.
Yep.
So I think since we have so many entrances in the morning, if we have adequate staff to park people, then maybe that is the right time to spend a little extra time and back them in because they're trickling in versus all flowing out simultaneously.
Right.
Once they're backed in, obviously it's easier for them to get out without running over sprinklers and all of that. So yeah, I would agree with what Tim's saying here. I think it would be wise to back them in and get them basically prepped for the easiest exit possible at the end of the day.
Tim, let me ask a question. Let's say we start dumping them into number 2. How do you do that? Just pull them down the middle and start backing them in?
Yeah, just like we were doing, you know, when they were pulling in, we were directing them how to head in. You know, you just put your hand up and they all wait because they all know they go to all these car shows.
Okay.
So they're used to it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can direct them wherever you want to then.
Okay.
And then I think that would be orderly. As far as parking volunteers, I think, Kevin, you mentioned this too, and when you were responding to Dennis, we need them there about 6:15 because we have to check. I mean, I checked out the parking area, but if somebody was going to help me, they need to see the lay of the land too. And people were getting there early. You know, it said on the deal, parking starts at 6:30, but they were there. You know,
I think, okay, I'm going to add to that, Tim, because if I don't mind help doing, you know, heading up the parking thing of this, but if we have parking, I think they're all going to be from like the Carson, Minden, Gardenville area and not burden Kevin with all that crap. Okay. Right. You know, hey, Kevin, you're coming over. Yeah. If you get there, you need to help. That's fine. But, you know, because what I would do is I'd have them there for a meeting on like a Wednesday or something before the show and say, this is what we're going to do. in this order.
Okay.
Totally
Yeah,
agreed there.
we
But
do need.
I
we
could
need-
throw something out there if you don't mind. We had quite a few people that showed up to the show and were more than willing to help, and that made it a point to tell me throughout the day, hey, if you want volunteers next year for parking, whatever it is, I'm happy to join. So I made a note next to every single one of those people that registered, who I have their contact information for.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So,
well, then let's create a master
volunteer,
list.
volunteer. Like that Patricia lady that showed up early and wanted to park in the stockade. She's like, I guess she's like a middle school teacher or something. She's like, yeah, I'm used to dealing with chaos. I'm good with this. She's like, if you let me park in the stockade now, so I can just be settled, I'll help you park for the next 2 hours. And she did. She was great. It was super helpful.
Good.
So I think that's a big thing. We need more bodies, and we have more volunteers. And unfortunately, there was a lot of things up in the air, and I was unsure of how it was going to land because of all the permitting and everything this year. You know, the whole game changed on me. I know all that now, and my goal is actually to have all that done by January for next event.
Yeah.
So we can have firm dates already committed with the county, with the town, with the state park, and that gives us, a whole 9 months to get volunteers and get orchestrated, knowing this is happening. It is reserved. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So
Perfect. Yeah. That's just a learning curve.
So,
Yep.
where I think we were lacking, I think we were good as far as parking in the morning, getting everyone set. I mean, that seemed to go smoothly. What we were lacking was the continuation of it through the day.
Yes.
And when we got towards the end, there's a lot of latecomers that once we got set, we thought we were good, but there was people that came in the afternoon that we still had opening spots that there was no one out there parking them.
Or pulled in and blocked the fire lane.
Yes, and we need somebody to make sure that we're maintaining that, to make sure we're following through with what we need to follow through with. The other thing was the registration, and I know we're hurting on volunteers as far as that. And Sean put out, well, there's going to be people walking around taking a registration, and I had a lot of people telling Marnie and I, well, because we went out and walked registration. Well, there was somebody supposed to be out here, but no one's been out here. So I think we need more volunteer help for that. Not only because Sean needs to get out and be able to walk the lot and do what he does. He can't be strapped where he was. But ideally, to have people out there doing registration, you need to have 2 people doing it. One person with a clipboard and another person taking the registration. So if we had maybe 3 couples out doing that, and 1 person at registration, that would free Sean up to be able to walk the lot and make sure the show's running properly and take that pressure off him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. You could have one group for each parking area for the registration, and then have the overflow for Nixon
Agreed.
Street.
Agreed.
So yeah, I had that down too. Also, there needs to be a clarification on categories. Nobody knew what a knuckle buster was.
I know, I got that a lot too, and I explained that a lot too.
And you know
Yeah,
what?
I
You
saw
could
that
do
on the
you
ballots.
could-
A lot
you
of them
could
didn't
do
even
the
fill it
knuckle
out.
buster, Sean. I understand where you're coming from. We could call it knuckle buster in parentheses under construction.
You're right. That would help.
Yeah, totally agreed. I think each category can have a name for what the award's going to be, but there needs to be a descriptive. 100% agreed. That was clear as day from the feedback we got day of. So honestly, this year, me being in the booth, I got a phenomenal amount of feedback from people because I wasn't just running around. So fortunately, yeah, that's the one I wholeheartedly agree with for sure.
Okay, we also
Maybe a description of everything, all the categories we have. If it's confusing to them, like you said, Dennis, in parentheses, a little description of what it means. Even coming down to the M2, and I thought I was able to explain that well, but hopefully there wasn't any confusion on that.
I don't think there was. I thought you did a great job of it.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question on that, Kevin, is who gets that invite? I thought it was Best of Show.
No. There's a difference between best of show. There's a best of show, and there's the best in that whole event. So you can and I have this at my event coming up this Sunday. There's a best of show, but there's also the difference between the best of show that it could be a great looking car that's a good car out there, but M2 is something that you look at that is flawless, something that is going to represent that show, something that can move on to be the best of the year. So that's the difference. I mean, I could bring my car and it could be coming as the best of show, but my car has flaws. So, but if you're going to have judges nitpicking that car. So an M2 vote, they're going to look at every detail of car, even down to the cleanliness of the car. So there is a difference between the two.
So the best of show does not automatically get an invite to M2. Okay.
It does not. It does not.
Well,
Okay.
I think a clear way we can define the difference in that is our Best in Show was a community choice award. That was based on votes, not
Correct.
based on people that are experienced with N2M2 and what that means.
Correct.
So the N2M2 award is given by people that really, really know their shit, is pretty much the way I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the Best in Show is one of our community choice awards.
Exactly.
And that can be that makes sense.
And Sean, you're correct on that. I mean, for example, my Hounds and Hot Rods show that I have this coming Sunday, I have a best of show, but it's a people's choice. But the N2M2 is something that we're, as my core is going to vote on, saying, no, this is the car that's going to represent us for that final event. So yeah, you're correct.
You did pick a good car for that too, by the way.
Yeah,
Thank
it was beautiful. Yeah. Actually, all three of them are really nice in that one area.
Yeah. There was a lot of great cars out there.
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
We already talked about, there was no backup for a raffle because we could have made some money, you know. I think Alan,
I will be the second on that. If we can't get somebody that's going to commit to that and do the raffle, put me down. I'll commit.
Alan, who always does the raffle, he was involved in he's real big with the scouts. So he had a scouting event going on, and that's why he was late getting to our show.
Well, I think we need an event. We need a backup on that anyway, because I think we struggled with that last year. And then this year, you know, Alan had things that he had to take care of. So I think we need a backup on that. And I'll definitely be a backup on the 50-50. The raffle, you know, I think that goes hand in hand. So we need to work on the raffle process as well, because that's a huge income for a show. 50-50, you know, I understand that the income from the registration is huge, but 50-50 and raffles are huge, and no one understands that. I see that in my shows every year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we raised it for just our small show we had here in Dayton. We raised $500 for the club.
Exactly. So we have to have somebody who's physically going to take control of that.
Okay, good. All right, moving on, guys.
That's about all I had.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I want to know, Sean, how much did we bring in?
So that was actually that was going to be my follow-up here. So it's hard for me to tell, since I was stuck in the kiosk all day, how many pre-registered actually showed up versus how many pre-registered showed up and didn't pay because of the confusion. You know, obviously the intent with that was, okay, we want to serve the pre-registered and make it as easy as possible for them. And since we ended up short, we just didn't have the staff to do that right, and we kind of compensated the best we could. But you know, we had 220 or 219 pre-registered plus day of registrations. I do not know how many pre-registered showed up, parked, and never came up to the kiosk, and that you and Marty never, you know, found out in the field. Gotcha. So we made $700 is really what it comes down to. So it was not impressive. Granted, our operational expenses this year were through the roof comparatively. You know, we had $1,800 in trophies. We had all the registrations at $25 a pop. But if I calculate 219 cars across that total, that's like $5,700 right there. We brought in 47 and change. is what we actually ended up getting at the end of the day. And I had the $350 permit for the state. I had a $200 permit with the town. I had a $200 permit with the county. I had $700 in porta potties. It all added up and, chewed away at the base pretty quickly. So our operational cost this time was vastly higher than last year. And our take-in was a bit higher, but not much. And so I think the response to that, and that's me calculating in us having about $450 in the reserve from last year going into expenses. So this time around, yeah, our operational costs went through the roof, and in an attempt to not have a traffic problem, we parked everybody before we verified that they were part of the show. And just sitting in the kiosk, I saw multiple people that came up, set up, tried to be part of the show, never came to the kiosk, never got involved, but we're still there, taking up a parking space and showcasing.
Okay. So this is where it comes down to, where we need enough volunteers out there trafficking to go up there and say, and Marnie and I were doing this. Are you registered? Are you registered? Are you registered? Because they're just sitting there enjoying the show, which is fine, but we need to get all those people involved. So it comes down to that we need more volunteers to go out there and traffic.
Exactly.
And we also
It's
need, like I stated, we need somebody running a 50-50 in a raffle area so we can make up for that difference, because that's where we're lacking. So
100% agreed.
more volunteers.
I agree. I agree on everything that you're saying there. I think, looking at like Hot August nights, keeping in mind, you guys all know, I'm not as well versed in the car show scene as you guys are. So been looking into it more, been talking to people. Hot August nights is what, $150 to register, and you get a t-shirt with it. There's some other things that come with, there's like a pre-packaged situation. And looking at the fact that some people didn't have printers, and some people, it's difficult for people in general. Which the way I was looking at it was send an email, show up with cash is the easiest way to register, knowing that there's a high demographic of older people that they're not going to use Venmo, they're not going to use PayPal. Like I was trying to make it as simple as possible. Send me an email with your name, year, make, and model, and your contact information, and then show up with cash. But I would say that showed itself as being a little chaotic in this, and we can either compensate with staff, or we can compensate with a very easy to use registration system if we have it done well enough in advance. And that's my goal this year, is to set it up to where people can pre-register. If they pre-register, they're paying in advance, up the registration fee, create a methodology to where they can pre-buy a shirt with a logo on it well in advance. And so I know the size, all that, and we can utilize a variety of different, websites that make shirts for you, as long as you get a couple months out. And so my thought was, okay, we bump registration up to like, I don't know, $40, and we add a couple perks to it. And then we give them the option of, they can also get a shirt for another $20, even though our cost on the shirt will probably be $20. But if we get that registration in by, say, 3 months before the show starts, then I already have all that data automatically put together. It's already automated. And so within 30 days of final cutoff of registration, they will be mailed their tag for their dash. They will be mailed any extra merch that they wanted to get. And so then the variable of them needing to print anything or know a number, it shows up in the mail. And they put it in their dash and they roll up, and we say, cool, yep, that's the mailer. It's a poly sheet that cost us 50 cents or whatever to have mailed out to them, auto printed out with their registration number automatically. And that's really what that rise in the registration fee would be, is simplicity plus extra perks. What do you think?
Sounds confusing to me.
Yeah.
No, I follow what you're saying, Sean. I do follow what you're saying, but you're going with an extremely high registration. Shirts are kind of gone to the wayside. There's a couple places that still do events with shirts. I do have a shirt person that if you want to go that direction,
Yeah,
$40 seems a little steep.
yeah.
I think the most I've seen is 35, and people bitch about that. But if you're going to do a show for 35 with a shirt, it'd better be one hell of a show.
When the show proves itself, I think. You know, I'm with Kevin, $35, you get the shirt. You know, I don't think you have to make it very confusing and to people like us that don't know. I just want to go to a show, pick up my package and go park. You know, get a t-shirt, and if you want to throw some goodies in there, that's fine. I don't think it's necessary, but you know.
Okay, so that's.
And you can get the shirts printed
Maybe that's
locally.
the minority, because my reason for thinking that is because I've had multiple people last year and this year saying, hey, why don't you have a shirt? Why isn't there something we can buy, some merch? And the thing is that production on that is expensive.
It is.
So,
It is.
you know,
Because
and that's why I say
average-
not having it not pre-printing, not going to a guy that has it, but, you know, because I mean, we all have friends that screen print. You know, it's a pretty common thing, but there's a variety of websites out there that you can get one shirt with a pre-filled logo at a specific size. So we can have one person register and have it auto feed over to that website. And that's going to be a ladies small with the logo. This one's going to be a men's XXX. This one's going to be that. And typically those shirts themselves are going to cost you 20 to 30 bucks a pop. So if you don't think that this show warrants that, because what I'm looking at is not that it's included and we raise the price. It's an add-on that they can choose to purchase. But
Gotcha.
we raise the initial registration to cover the expense of using an automated system that mails them a registration tag that they can put in their dash. And I don't know what that's going to be. I haven't done it before, but I had quite a few people say, well, oh, what's registration? 40 bucks, 30 bucks, 50 bucks. So
Really?
my impression from that was that 25 seemed cheap to the majority of the people walking up to the counter. And if we can increase the registration fee and use some of that expense to make it even easier for people, that it would be well absorbed, because this show is going to max out at a certain capacity anyways. So why not make it, you know, I don't want to make it this bougie exclusive thing where it's 200 bucks to get into the show and only the best of the best are showing up and we've got a bunch of rich fops next to us. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we're generating enough revenue to where we can put on the best show with the best trophies in the best environment and not have to chase down someone paying because they pulled up and parked.
Ease of registration is key. I agree with you on that, on Sean. I totally agree with you on that. But the bottom line is we need to make sure we have enough volunteers to cover everything that we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Hey,
Yeah.
Sean, for older people, they didn't understand the registration either, because most of the registrations you pre-register on a form and that's sent in with money or whatever. And the email was confusing to a lot of the older folks in my club. So
they're receiving a paper registration form that they're filling out and mailing a check.
Yeah, that would be easiest, Sean, if you had something on the website where they could see the registration and pull it. And I know Sean and I have already discussed this, because like Tim said, it was confusing because they go, I sent an email, but I didn't get a response.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, they're more visual, especially the older folks that aren't positive about how to work emails and all that stuff. If they're looking for a registration form in front of them. So yeah.
So do you think an online registration form would solve that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then that's the plan.
All right.
Cool.
And then here's the other thing,
that's
Sean.
easier.
Here's the other thing. You got a mailing list already, right?
Yeah, I've got a list of everybody that's been to the show.
So
That's
every
right.
one of those people next year, when we start the process, will get an entry form.
Yeah,
Mailed to
I I agree with that. I intentionally avoided that this year because I was concerned based on the volume of interest we were getting and all of the complexities and new factors of the town, the parking situation, the permits. I didn't want to overflood the show and for us to get shut down. So I honestly was kind of hoping that we would maybe be landing between 202 and 250 cars because the layers of complexity of the new show this year, I didn't want to send out a mailer to everybody and try and maximize the show. I wanted to perfect the show based on knowing we have all these new variables and then push it next year when we knew what to do.
What is your max? What is your max, Sean, that you think that we can fill, that we can handle?
Without overflow of other areas other than what we had this year, 300.
300.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. You know what? We could have probably gotten 300 in what areas that we had. Because we could have utilized that second parking area just a little bit better, you know, if we would have taken our time. But
Yeah,
we were all trying to get them off the road. I mean, it's all new to us too, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what
So
you're
I didn't want to
about,
try sprinting. I wanted to crawl before we walked. And even though this was round 2, it was a completely different game that we were dealing with. We were dealing with pulling into a state park, not destroying that state park so they would let us back again next year. And you know, I drove by today and the grass looks good. It doesn't look trashed. It doesn't look like there was just a car show there.
No.
Were any sprinklers broken?
Chris said he thinks there's like maybe 1 or 2, but he's not sweating it. And I told him, just let me know, you know, if you need me to cover the cost of some sprinklers.
2 sprinklers, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, with what was it, 500 we drove over without breaking, so that's pretty good.
okay, so let me ask you a question, Sean. Once you get everything all settled out, is the coalition going to need to ante up some money to pay bills?
I have zero issue covering the upfront costs, honestly. You know, this is kind of an experiment in seeing if we can do it. To me, it's fun.
I didn't answer Sean didn't answer my question, bud.
No.
This is a coalition that stays together. Okay, it's not about you coming out of your pocket to pay bills.
Yeah, we're not looking at that.
I mean, the big thing, honestly, Dennis, is that those expenses all hit like 30 days before. So if we want to look at this simply, me trying to collect X% from here or there or the next place makes it more complicated. If I can just pay for it and then keep a ledger of the expenses and whatever the profit margin is, okay, we say, hey, coalition made this, I cover my expenses, that's clean. That takes me 30 seconds to run that calculation versus saying, okay, well, here's the coalition fund and everybody that's part of the coalition needs to put in X dollar here and X dollar there, and then we can vote on it. And I'd just rather pay for the fucking thing and cover the expenses and distribute the funds afterwards. It makes my life easier, to be honest with you.
Well, that's fine, but go ahead, Kevin.
Just my question, Sean. So after this show all said and done, are we in the black or the red for this year?
We're in the black. Yeah, we're in the black.
With your expenses being paid.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's fine.
With all expenses being paid and contributing the 450 roughly, I've got it on a spreadsheet, but it's about $450 that we had reserved, which was basically just in an envelope in my safe for the past year that just said, you know, coalition in it. Yeah, we're up. We've got about $750 in the coalition. Everything is paid for.
Fine. That's fine.
Everything is covered, and I'm totally happy with it.
Yeah. So we just need to grow on that so we can start donating back to the community. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, that would be the goal. So to that note, one, Masons did their own thing and raised some money this year, so that was great. They're all super happy and they want to encourage this. We don't need to make a donation, obviously, to them. The situation with the cemetery. So I think that was pretty much the only major hiccup we had.
Yeah,
which was I was told by one of the board members of the cemetery many months ago that we could use it for parking trailers. And I said, great, thank you. And so I published it. And then the day before the event, I went to the town hall just to check in with Amanda, the interim town manager, and the lady who had told me that was there, along with her husband, who's also on the board. And I was like, yeah, here's the plan, blah, blah, blah. We've got all this going on. It seems like everything's gonna go pretty smooth. And she's like, oh, you're gonna have them park over there? I was like, yeah, you told me we should park them there so we can keep the trailers out of town. She's like, oh, we have to push that through the cemetery board. So that hit me last second. I, within 3 hours, managed to get a certificate of liability from my insurance agent for the cemetery. Was willing to sign anything and had it all wrapped up by 8 p.m. the day before. And they were just, half the board was for it, half the board wasn't, and they got all mad and created, that's why there was a guy out there yelling.
Okay.
So what I want to do is make a donation, a couple $100 to the cemetery board and say, hey, sorry for the confusion. This was a miscommunication. We would like to do this next year, and we would like to, make a donation to the cemetery to cover whatever you want us to cover, a couple $100. And
use part of that 700.
Yeah. So that was my thought. That was really the only thing I figured we should throw out there, is mitigating damage. Because the last thing I want to do is go stick my finger in that woman's nose and say, hey, you told me one thing and a different thing happened. That's not going to help anything.
Yeah.
So I would rather just eat crow. Okay, let's make it happen. And next year we'll do it right. I'm sorry. So
we can also, if you're going to get that, we can put a sign down there. Trailer offloading and parking. So when they drive in, they can see it.
Yeah, totally agreed. So I think that's really the only, I would say, hard obligation donation we should make, because I think it's going to go a long way to strengthen us
I
next
think
year.
it's a really good idea.
And then what we have left after that is, $500, which is about what we had last year. So
that's fine.
Sean, you do a great job, and you're great as far as setting up and getting everything lined up, and the numbers guy, you're awesome. I have total confidence in you, and we can grow on this. And I know we'll hit 300 next year, and I know it'll be more successful than it was this year and the previous year. So I have total confidence in you, Sean. We can make this happen.
And I think what we do next year, when we get down to the nitty gritty, that we, aside from the coalition meetings, we'll throw another one in there, a planning meeting, and get volunteers in here and talk to everybody. We can't get them together necessarily and go to a meeting. This is the easiest way to do it.
Absolutely.
Well, another thing we didn't bring up is speakers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do you guys think about music being in station 2? Okay. Trophy presentation where it was. Okay. Leave the trophy presentation being down there, but the music in the middle somewhere with a remote speaker down by the trophy presentation so that road can hear.
Yeah, definitely.
Because station number 1
100% agreed.
Test.
So that's another thing. If now that we've done all the permitting and all the chaos of making it an official county event, it'll be way easier for me to do that earlier. And what I would like to do is next year, I would like to book Ike and Martin. The problem is my friend's band is,
yes, please.
They're booked out like a year in advance. So if I can get on this, so I plan on going beginning of this month to Genoa Town Board and saying, okay, are we okay doing this again next year? Yes, we're okay. We went through all the nuances. Everything's good. This is part of why I need to address the cemetery thing, because there will be a couple of them there yelling at me. And that's fine. But if we want like the cream of the crop, we have to book a year in advance, is really what it comes down to. And fortunately, Ike has a booking company. Ike is the reason we had those bands. Ike is the reason why when the first band canceled a week and a half before the show, I didn't even know about it until he had a replacement 24 hours later. So because he knows how to do this stuff. This is his wheelhouse.
You know, that band that you had was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, they were
They're-
fantastic.
I mean, to have Ike and Martin would be awesome as well. But these guys were good, and I had a lot of good feedback about that band. They were playing everything, and everyone was happy with what they're playing. So
Excellent. Well, I think really, the reason I bring that up, and granted, I want to do a bit of a diatribe on that, but Dennis, yes, putting up a speaker with a remote to the core is not going to be a problem. I just need to be able to plan it in advance. So, Ike's got a guy that works for him that handles all the event bookings and all that kind of stuff, who actually came out to the show with his wife, super nice guy. I might be buying a classic flatbed truck from the Squagas here pretty soon that I can start using for concerts at car shows, but we'll see. Either way, we're getting to a point where we're finding these little components, and I don't think any one of them is going to be a problem. They're all doable.
Good. And when are you going to, what meeting, and when's the meeting for the presentation for next year?
So I'm going to do just kind of a walk-in. I've already messaged the interim town manager. There is a new town manager that I just met the day before the car show, but he wasn't able to make it to the show. Super nice guy. So I think it's the first Wednesday of every month. So I'll be emailing them this week to confirm that, hey, I'd like to do a review at that meeting, but not a presentation and approval, so to speak. And I'll know the bearing on it. But I spoke to multiple members of the town board that evening after the show, some of which were very against the show at the beginning of the summer. And after I spent the time and talked to them and all that crap, I basically handled all the politics of it. We're 100% on board, and the response that I got was, yes, we're 100% on board. We want to make this go through. We're happy to support you moving forward. So this next meeting I would like to do immediately after their next meeting, beginning of October. I'll bring it up and say, hey, is there any major concern, or can we tentatively set a date, knowing that, obviously any little nuances we need to adjust, we can adjust. And the second I get the go ahead on that, I will confirm it with the county, submit for the permit in October, and submit with the state for Mormon Station in October. And we will have a firm date that I can say, yep, we're doing this, start booking the bands, start working on the site registration, and then hopefully by, I think it was February for N2M2 confirmation.
Yes.
I will have a form up for people to start registering as of February. That's my goal.
And would you like any support for that meeting in Genoa?
If you guys want to come out, absolutely. I mean, there's no harm.
Well, I wouldn't ask him to come out all the way from Reno, but he could certainly be on a conference with me to hear what's going on if he wants, but maybe Tim and you, Tim, you can come out, and maybe I can come out and just be there, with a couple more bodies is what I was thinking.
Yeah, what date is that
we
gonna be,
can.
Sean, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. They post it. It's like the first Wednesday of every month, but I can go onto the Town of Genoa website and know when the next meeting is.
Okay.
So I will shoot out an email in that regard.
Perfect.
If you guys would like to attend, great. I think what that will do is show that there's a commitment.
Yeah,
there's a
and
group
Tim,
of us that's there.
do you have your coalition shirt?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be in town. We're gonna be gone for the month of
Okay.
October.
Okay. I
And it
think
looks
I
like
can
it's
be
on-
there, Sean.
October 5th, I think, is the first Wednesday.
And maybe I can get
Yeah.
Terry there too.
If you want to come, it's not going to hurt. If you can't make it, I don't think it's going to be a problem. That town knows me. This is my hometown. So I'm ultimately just dealing with the various curmudgeons that are in town that want to cause a ruckus. And I've won over 90% of them at this point in time, and they're very
Hopefully
supportive.
they all like you.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So if you would like to be involved, fantastic. I appreciate the support, but please don't feel any pressure to do it, because I think we're going to be okay. I don't think we're going to run into any resistance. The county supports it. The town supports it. It's basically me mitigating the occasional curmudgeon, and the township being government can't just brush them off. So if I say a couple things and act like we're sorry even though we didn't do anything wrong, it's politics. It's pretty much all it comes down to. So
Yeah. Okay.
Usually.
Perfect. All right. So I got one last thing. Are you done, Sean? Everybody done with
yes, sir.
the show? Okay. So I've got this idea, crazy idea. I think Kevin, you and I've talked about it. To have an off-season coalition event, a winter event. I'm thinking around February sometime after football's over and that kind of stuff, kind of in a lull. And maybe nothing to do with a car show, just a gathering of the coalition at some place where the car clubs could show off whatever they have. Tell us what your car club's about. A little table, for example. Maybe they have some stuff. Maybe they need to make some stuff, to promote themselves. I don't know. And have a dinner event, probably in Reno. And I'm not sure where. Kevin, you mentioned something, you had a place. Sean, I was wondering if you had anything at your place to have a dinner event for the coalition and all the car clubs. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm more than happy to use Nova's buildings to host any type of event that you guys would like to for the coalition.
If we got 200 people, is it big enough?
Reno's 60,000 square feet. So yeah, we have space. I would just, obviously we need to set up catering and do all that, but yeah, we have a warehouse for it. Maybe do it on a Saturday evening.
Right.
We close at 6 on the weekdays. We close at 3 on a Saturday. So if we did it on a Saturday evening or on a Sunday, but I know folks that go to church would probably prefer not to go on a Sunday.
Well,
So,
I mean, if we're people coming from out of the area, we need a hotel kind of nearby. So we could probably get some special rates, that kind of thing. Because if I go over there and, have some wine, I'm not going to drive home.
It would kind of be like a dinner event, a coalition get together, try to possibly bring in more car clubs into the coalition, maybe talk a little bit about the Genoa event for 2023, try to get some ideas, brainstorm. I think it's a great idea.
How about, just clubs promoting themselves too?
That as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily get up there and talk. I don't know how much time we want to do that. I just want to be a fun event. And Sean, can we have cocktails at your place?
absolutely. I do that all the time for designers and architects and contractors anyways. So if it's car people, that's fine. I mean, parking wise, if it's in the evening on a Saturday, we'll be a little better off because, this is kind of warehouse district. It's directly across the street from Tamarack Junction in Reno.
Oh, perfect.
So,
okay.
I think Nova
we don't.
would be a perfect place, considering Nova is the sponsor of everything we're doing. I think it would be ideal.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm thinking if you had the spot, you don't need to bring cars, but just, maybe start thinking about it. Cause I like to start planning that thing for our October call.
So you're talking about doing this in October?
No,
February.
start planning it like
Okay.
February sometime after football's over. Everything's kind of a lull. Baseball hasn't started yet. Car stuff hasn't started yet. Everybody said we're not doing anything.
Yeah, nothing
Okay,
going on.
February is doable. Just FYI, I am traveling every 2 weeks until mid-January. So yeah, February sounds good, please.
So that date would be all on you and Sean.
Yeah. So I will look at February. I will look at a Saturday that's going to work, and I'll get back to you guys this week.
Okay.
Not a problem. Yeah, I'll fire that.
What do you
out.
think,
That-
Kevin, about having it over to his joint?
I think it's great. I mean, because then we could brainstorm for the show next year, and we can, like you said, get all the car clubs together. They can talk about their car clubs. We can talk about. We could actually try to bring in some other clubs into our event to help us out. It's a positive thing.
Tim?
Yeah, I agree. And also having it at Nova, I agree with Kevin. Nova's a big sponsor, so that's
Yeah,
perfect.
they're huge. Yeah, they're huge. Yeah. All right, Sean, you're on the hook for something else.
That's okay. I signed up for it. This is doable. The good thing about this, if it's in one of our buildings, I have a lot of extra staff. I can bring in people to help. It's different than me pulling people out on a Saturday for a car show. It's in one of our buildings. It's their environment. It's what they're comfortable with. So yeah, I'll have a lot of people there ready to help out. We'll get some catering. We'll work something out that's nice.
Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely my forte. So let's do it.
Okay, cool.
And Sean, I'll take away the stress for you for trophies next year. I'm your guy. I got it.
Thank you.
But Kevin's
I
gonna
appreciate
deliver,
that.
Kevin's gonna be able to have the trophies delivered to Nova Tile and Stone so you can bring them back.
It doesn't matter to me either way. I like doing this. It's a cool thing to be able to deliver the trophies. So I'll take care of the trophies.
All right.
So that's one less stress for Sean. I dig doing it.
Well, keep it out of your head, Russ.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Kevin. I think that's going to be
Headliner.
another beneficial thing about getting everything queued up a lot earlier is I can tell people, hey, by the end of March, you have to confirm your trophy. And so we have plenty of time to get everything in place.
Well, we only need a month. We only need at least a month per trophies to get that confirmed. And the guy that I'm working with at Award Zone, he is so cool and so easy to work with. I kind of give him my idea what I want, and then he brainstorms with me and we come up with it. And also having your input on it, it's easy. It's an easy deal. So
well, that was awesome. So I mean, knowing all the different digital things that we need in advance, the flyers, the disc for the Mylar on the trophies, things like that. Everything that we made for this year, I'm gonna have her start working on that in the next 30 days.
Yeah,
so it's all done.
And that's the only problem that I ran into with trophies with this year was doing the Mylar part and the dash plaques, because when it gets too busy on the flyer, it's difficult to do the Mylar and the dash plaques. So if we have, it's okay if you want to make it wordy on the flyer, but we need something that simplifies for our dash plaques. That's all.
100% agreed. It just needs to be a unique piece of thematic art along with the show that goes for that space.
Correct.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Well,
So we'll plan that out in
gorgeous.
advance.
Those trophies were beautiful, guys. They were absolutely
beautiful.
awesome.
Yeah, I was happy with those.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
I'm glad
good
you guys
job
are
on
happy.
that.
I'm
All right,
happy
anything
looking
else,
at mine.
guys? I
I'm
know
happy looking at mine on in my bedroom too.
Show off.
you deserved every bit of that one, buddy. You were my pick.
Damn right.
You worked so hard.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean, sorry I can't be there on the 5th. We're taking off Monday for a motorcycle ride to South Carolina.
Oh,
No
how
worries
fun.
at all. You go have fun.
I'll be gone for the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. So
All right,
we'll be
guys.
good.
Are we ready
right.
to sign off?
Yep.
I think so.
Okay, we're signing off. I'll send a recording out to all three of us. Okay, all three of you guys, and then
What do
Sean,
we-
you'll have it for next year.
When are we doing another meeting, Dennis?
Let me look.
Obviously, to plan for next year.
Yeah. October, oh, something just come on, wait a minute. Just had something come in here, October 10th.
October 10th.
October 10th, yeah.
Okay.
We should think about doing the planning, for the off-season event.
Dennis, do you use Google Calendar at all?
I do, that's what I looked at.
Okay. Well, when you send the Zoom invites out, would you potentially shoot those as a Google Calendar invite with the Zoom link in them?
I guess I can. Well, for you, Sean?
My entire world runs off of that. That's kind of why I'm almost always a few minutes late. my brain shifts from car show to family to game development to building materials on like a 5-minute interims.
Yeah.
So-
It's a Texas Rangers.
Yeah. So
I couldn't
if
get you
shoot
on
me
there,
that,
buddy.
I can just, yeah, well, I started to message with you and then the guys wanted to take a picture and I stood up and I had my phone in my hand with a buddy of mine that was over in Sweden and I was holding him up for the picture. And one of the other guys reached around to put his arm around somebody and swatted my phone out of my hand and launched it about 15 feet and it shattered into
God.
1,000 pieces.
John was in Texas and he said, get the Oakland A's on there because I'm behind home plate. And I looked everywhere for them.
Yeah, no, it was at, Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth out there. I forget the name of the town that's just, not far away. It's 30 minutes away where the stadium was, but we were at Rangers home stadium and Oakland A's were playing there with them and we were straight behind home plate. It was amazing.
All I could find, I found San Francisco. I couldn't find anything on Texas or Oakland.
Oh.
I
I guess it wasn't a big deal. The stadium wasn't that full.
Of the TV, and sent it to you. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I got some pictures. They had the little screens in front of me where I could see us on a 15-second delay, and my wife was just telling me not to pick my nose on live TV. So.
I guess it's better than picking your butt.
This is true.
All right, guys. I'm going to sign off. I'll send this recording out to you guys.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
I love you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Sounds
Cheers.
good. Thanks,
Bye.
Fred.
So long.
Bye.
Bye.